host, Patrick Ryan, along with our co-moderator, Richard Wilson, the president of the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group. FocusKSA is a new feature of the Susris.com and the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group collaboration. We're pleased to bring you these monthly interactive webinars to provide you with the opportunity to talk to specialists and leaders in their fields. And today we have an exceptional panel who will be talking about the questions of Saudi-U.S. trade and investment. During the session, please look at your control panel and submit questions for the panelists. We'll have a round of remarks from our guests, and then we'll throw the floor open to your questions. So use your control panel to submit questions, and we'll queue those up for our panelists. Now I'd like to introduce my co-host, Richard Wilson, president of the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group, who will provide a brief overview and then hand it off to our panel.
Pat, thank you very much. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being with us today. We appreciate you taking time to join this initiative. We're really excited about this webinar program and have found them to be very high in content, very informative. Pat and I will try and get out of the way. I think you three among you just have a tremendous amount of experience and expertise on the topic. The sequence, as we discussed, we'll start with Amer in Riyadh, Ambassador Fraker in Massachusetts, and Omar also in Riyadh. Amer and the group in general, as you are well aware, the U.S.-Saudi trade in 2013 was just over $70 billion. Saudi Arabia is about the 9th largest trade partner for the U.S. The preponderance of that trade is oil sales to the U.S., maybe $50 billion. I think there's interest on both sides in expanding not only the level of trade but the nature of the trade. Saudi Arabia is in the midst of a very aggressive expansion, trying to develop its non-oil sectors, diversify the economy in general. I'm hoping we can get to both the near-term and the long-term trajectory of that process, how Americans and Saudis, businesses and individuals can build on the current relationship. And let me with that, Amer, if you can give us sort of an overview and your insights on your efforts with the U.S. Department of Commerce, which have been particularly aggressive. I know Secretary Pritzker is all in with regard to exports and building U.S. trade ties to the region and with Saudi Arabia in particular. With that, Amer, let me turn this over to you.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Pat, also for helping organize this thing. I feel fortunate to be in the good company of former Ambassador Fraker, who has tremendous experience in the region, and my good friend Omar, who has done more than any single individual that I know of in expanding bilateral trade between our two countries. Before we talk about present, let me just give a 30 seconds kind of a context of where did it all start. If you look at the U.S.-Saudi relationship, history of U.S.-Saudi relationships, you'll realize 80 years of this relationship. Actually, the commercial relationship predated the diplomatic relationship that we had. So it's a very strong foundation as far as the commercial relationship is concerned. And then with the visit of King Abdullah in 2004 to the United States, this relationship even started on a stronger footing there. King Abdullah's visit was followed by Saudi Arabia's accession to WTO, World Trade Organization, and then at the same time we saw the announcement of King Abdullah Scholarship Program, under which we now have more than 83,000 Saudi students studying in the United States. So, and in addition to that, since the King Abdullah's visit in 2004, we have had 4 U.S. presidential visits to the kingdom. So it really tells you the depth and the breadth of the relationship is just amazing. As Richard, you mentioned, Saudi Arabia and the United States, 9th largest trading partner. It is the 19th largest export destination. But I want to elaborate on that a little bit. Now, that 19th largest export destination is based on direct exports of about $19 billion that we had to the kingdom last year. Okay, By the way, that in itself is a 76% increase from 2009. But then you have to add roughly $2 billion in service exports. That's not included. That's usually engineering, procurement, and construction and design, financial, legal, so on and so forth. And then you have another about what we call indirect exports. These are the exports that are coming through transit country, whether it's UAE or making a stop or somewhere in Europe. And that's valued approximately at another 15 billion. So that really tells you the magnitude of U.S. exports. If you were to add all that up, Saudi Arabia, comes close to being the top 10 destinations for U.S. exports. That Saudi Arabia is a good story. Saudi Arabia has then taken tremendous leaps in as far as intellectual property is concerned. Back in 2010, they were removed from the USTR 301 watch list, and since then, Saudi Arabia has developed a comprehensive program in order to facilitate their own efforts to develop a very diversified knowledge economy. If we look at on the defense side, and I'm talking about purely on the commercial side of the relationship, Saudi Arabia is the largest customer of U.S. Military equipment. Currently, we have either active and open cases of about $97 billion of just foreign military sales with Saudi Arabia. And then on top of that, we have direct commercial sales that take place there. So let's start from there now. From this, you see, it's already a very strong relationship. So where do we go from here, and how we can help diversify both the economy of Saudi Arabia and also the export base for U.S. companies there? Currently, Saudi Arabia has about $900 billion, and that's with B, worth of projects planned or underway in the kingdom. About 700 billion of that 960 billion are what we consider to be mega projects, any project that is over $1 billion there. So the opportunities, if you look at in terms of infrastructure opportunities and overall opportunities for U.S. exporter and businessmen are just amazing in Saudi Arabia there. This year, the budget was one of the highest, all-time high actually for the kingdom, $228 billion, and most of it is earmarked for social projects and improving infrastructure. Near 142 billion of $228 billion will be spent on infrastructure-related projects, and majority of these projects will focus on municipality services, transportation and telecommunications, water, agriculture, and some of the other infrastructure-related projects, including metros and housing projects that Kingdom has going. Education, which constitutes almost 25% or 24% of the budget, overall budget, about $54 billion, is education training is another area where we have seen quite a bit growth, both from the United States in terms of Saudi students going to the United States, but also U.S. institutions, companies, and colleges and universities working with their counterparts here to provide either services or technical support there. Energy export, Richard, you mentioned $50 billion of oil exports to the United States. That's Saudi's single largest export. But we should not discount the fact that both United States and Saudi Arabia have significant investments in each other's countries there. Just a good example would be in case of the United States, SABIC bought GE Plastic a few years back for $11+ billion there. So it's a very significant investment in the United States, and Aramco and SABIC are currently looking for more good opportunities, and so are small to medium-sized Saudi companies that are investing in our own country. As far as U.S. Is concerned, just in the last 5 years that I've been here, I have seen 2 or 3 mega investments in Saudi Arabia, starting from Alcoa's back in 2010, $13 billion joint venture that with Saudi Mining Company. Then we saw a $20 billion joint venture between Dow Chemical and Aramco, and then another about $700 million joint venture that we saw between one of the U.S. fertilizer companies and Ma'aden. So really tells you the depth of the breadth of the relationship is just amazing. It's not just trade, it's investments also. We have had very successful U.S. Business Opportunities Forum, 3 of those in the United States now in the last 4 years, and hopefully we will have another one. So opportunities are immense there. The important thing that I would like to emphasize is that in order to enter this market, in order to be successful in this market, you must visit Saudi Arabia. The days of remote control operation, working from Bahrain, sitting in Cairo, or sitting in Dubai, just don't work anymore here. You have to show commitment to the market. It is, I mean, as I mentioned, opportunities are immense, but at the same time, the market is not where you are going to realize success in 3 to 6 months period. It does take time. It could easily take, 8 to 12 months for you to see for success. But if you are committed, you will definitely see a success. And that's where we can help you in the commercial section at the embassy in Riyadh. We have also a commercial section in Dhahran at our consulate, as well as in Jeddah, where we help American companies, help them find potential partners, distributors, representatives, and if they already know somebody, we can also help do due diligence on some of the prospective partners. So let me just stop there and give my other distinguished colleagues to share their views, but I'll be here and happy to answer any questions.
Amer, thanks very much. That was fascinating, and I hope we can return at some point to accessing the market. I know the Department of Commerce is very active in that regard. I also find it very interesting your elaboration on the actual level of the U.S. exports in terms of services and indirect trade. If we can transition to Omar Bahlaiwa. Omar, how are you today?
Okay, thank you, Richard.
Go ahead. Let me turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, to elaborate also on what Amer said, and thanks to Amer because he gave a very glamorous picture on Saudi Arabia and the Saudi-U.S. relation. Let me give an overall picture of the Saudi economy in general. Then we can go into detail, especially on SMEs. The Saudi economy is considered to be one of the largest in the Middle East, if not the largest, with a $745 billion GDP. And the per capita is quite sizable, 25,300 per capita. The growth of the GDP is 1.5% per current account. And the growth of the non-oil sector is about 5%. Export is 388 billion, and import is about 156%. Sorry, the growth of the non-oil is 7%, not 5%. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia went through lots of reforms in the last decade or so, and these reforms really dragged Saudi Arabia to the right track with or what's so considered the fast track, with mega projects, as Amer said, and projects in the next 10 years or so for over $1 trillion, started from mega projects to large projects, small and medium. And again, Saudi Arabia economy considered to be on the top rank. Unfortunately, we went down a little bit on ease of doing business to the number 22. But on the global competitiveness, we are number 18. And the infrastructure, we are number 31. On macroeconomic environment, we are number 4. And many other top position in the world ranking. The FDI of Saudi Arabia is considered to be the largest, again, in the Arab world, with $16.4 billion for the year of 2012. The advantage of the Saudi market, it's a big liberal market. The population is sizable, 29 million. 50% of the population is below 20 years of age. The proximity of the market is so big, It is close. It's in the middle of the world, so it is close to many markets, especially Africa, Asia, and Southeast Asia. The labor cost is not that high. The source of energy is very attractive, and cost of energy is very attractive. The national treatment is sound, reliable investment environment, and protection. There are many projects in many fields, as I said, like the physical infrastructure, petrochemical fields, electric power generation, water desalination and telecommunication, tourism, natural gas production, agriculture, education, and lately the metro industry, which we have Riyadh Metro, and now there is Medina Metro, another one for Dammam, and the third one will be for Jeddah, and the fourth one will be for Mecca. Another big opportunity is in the housing. The King Abdullah have approved about $14.6 billion for the housing, especially in rural area, and this is good for contractors, especially not in main cities but in rural cities. When it comes to foreign trade, U.S. is number one as a partner in terms of export and import, and you are guys competing with China. And I believe in the year 2003, China has preceded the United States in foreign trade. In 2012, U.S. was number one, but in 2013, unfortunately, China took over the import from Saudi Arabia. There are many other things. Amer have mentioned cover the budget as the largest budget with $228 billion, and that is the largest budget. And with this, I think I gave a very wide exposure on the Saudi economy. Then throughout the discussion, we can go into details. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Pat, and appreciate the participation of the other participants. Thank you.
Omar, many thanks. A reminder to audience members, if you would like to, and we encourage you to, just click on the dashboard that you have on questions and submit those questions. The flow will be, Ambassador Fraker will weigh in and add his perspective, and then we'll go back around to each of the participants to get maybe 2 minutes of commentary and response, and hopefully we'll be able to get to some questions following that. But please do submit those. Ambassador Fraker, the field is clear. Please, you have extraordinarily deep experience in the region and in Saudi Arabia in particular, not only as a private businessman but also as a diplomat. So please let us turn to you.
Thanks, Richard, and thanks to Pat, Amer, and Omar. Just to weigh in on one particular aspect of this topic, which I think is important, particularly important, is the personal relationship side of doing business in Saudi Arabia. As Amer said, it requires a commitment on the part of U.S. companies. U.S. companies need to actually get on airplanes and come out to Saudi Arabia. A number of you have heard me say in the past that the biggest challenge in developing new relationships in the kingdom is actually getting people to get on airplanes and come out, because in my 40 years of experience in doing business in the region, when people come out, they leave a lot more positive than when they first came out. So half the battle is just getting them into the region and in front of prospective business opportunities, and it works from there very effectively. So as an ambassador, I always made the point that business is at the heart of the U.S.-Saudi relationship. As Amer said, business has always led diplomacy in the region. We as the United States started doing business in Saudi Arabia before we actually had diplomatic relations. And business has been a core of that important relationship ever since. And as a U.S. ambassador, whether you're in Saudi Arabia or any other country, I always felt a key role was promoting business in the country that you're in. And certainly this was something that I took very seriously, and my successor, Ambassador Jim Smith, did as well. Promoting U.S.-Saudi business interests is a big part of the job. You know, actually doing business in Saudi Arabia requires not just the commitment and the desire to win contracts. It requires a sort of relentless pursuit of the opportunity. And Saudi Arabia, as a developing economy, has spent a lot of time and effort and money in putting in place the organizations to help make that work. Sagia is a very good case in point. And I know Abdul Latif Al Othman, with his background coming out of Aramco, has made a particular effort to ensure that the mechanics of setting up a business in Saudi Arabia work as smoothly as they can. But what I would say to anyone looking to work in the kingdom, it requires a very real personal commitment to overseeing the operations in a hands-on fashion. And what you'll find is that those personal relationships then lead to deep and lasting business growth over a long period of time. As we say, presidents and kings may come and go, but business relationships tend to stay the course. And if you're looking at ways of cementing a bilateral relationship, then business is where it should be. And that has been the hallmark of the U.S.-Saudi business relationship. One other point I'd make is, again, Amer talked about the number of U.S.-Saudis or Saudi students studying in the U.S. This is the new generation of Saudi businessmen and entrepreneurs who will be coming back to the kingdom, taking over their fathers' and grandfathers' businesses, and taking business in the local market to another level. And that presents a whole range of opportunities for American companies. So that's another angle that I think is very important. So what I'd like to do is stop there and work off the questions, because I think the question and answer period in these events is the most interesting part of it. So let me just leave it there.
Pat, it looked like you were weighing in, but I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, Richard, I just wanted to thank Ambassador Ford for his comments, and we're going to turn to a kind of an open round for follow-up, and then we'll get to questions from the audience. First, I just want to again thank the audience for joining us today, and remind them that this is a FocusKSA webinar on Saudi-U.S. trade and investment. We're pleased to have on the panel distinguished officials, former and current, and specialists, as we do with all the FocusKSA webinars that we host. Today we're talking with Ford Fraker, President of the Middle East Policy Council in Washington, and former U.S. Ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Mr. Amer Kayani, Head of the U.S. Commercial Service in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, talking to us from the embassy in Riyadh, and also from Riyadh, Engineer Omar Bahlaiwa, the Secretary General of the Committee for International Trade. I'm Pat Ryan, the editor of SUSRIS, and Richard Wilson is the president of the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group. The CIT and Saudi-U.S. Trade Group sponsored the 3 U.S.-Saudi Business Opportunities Forums, Chicago, Atlanta, and last year in Los Angeles. And I'd refer you to our website, susris.com, where you can find all of the proceedings of those 3 sessions to get more information on U.S.-Saudi trade and investment. Richard, I'll hand back to you to get us into our brief mini round.
Great, and let me add, in addition to CIT and Saudi-U.S. Trade Group, the U.S.-Saudi Arabian Business Council was a co-organizer of those events. Let me share the nature of questions. Not surprisingly, some of the folks listening are particularly interested in how their company can access the Saudi market. But the general trend is, and perhaps this starts with Amer, is there a central website for referencing procurement opportunities in Saudi and in Saudi Arabia? I'm sorry, and we'd want to expand that. What are the resources for say a small to medium-sized enterprise that wants to access the Saudi market? Amer, can I start with you?
Sure. Well, there are a number of ways you can access this market. As far as the procurements are concerned, unfortunately, it's not available on a central website. There is a publication. It's called, just like our Federal Register, called Al-Qura, which is published in Arabic, and that lists all government tenders. However, there are other private sector resources that you can tap into, which offer tender reporting services, like such as MEAD's tender reporting services by subscription. But you can also go onto individual ministries' website, where you will often find tenders listed there. But having said that, let me just say, if you are responding, let me back up. If you're engaging in a tendering process at the RFP stage, that's the first time you're engaging, it's usually a little late in the game, to be honest with you. So if you really want to penetrate the market, for especially as far as small and medium-sized enterprises are concerned, you need to find a local partner. And that's where we can help you. We can help you qualify a potential partner in the market. Then they will be your eyes and ears on the ground, and they will look for the opportunities as far as RFPs are concerned, or pre-RFP stages, where they try to educate the end user or customer about your products, so that when the RFP comes out, it's going to be equal opportunity RFP. So it will give opportunity to a number of vendors, and it's not going to be pigeonholed to just a handful.
What Saudi Arabian General Investment Authority, Abdul Latif Al Othman, as you mentioned, came over from Saudi Aramco in 2011. He's taken that, brought his own stamp to it. What role does Sagia play? Omar, can you elaborate on that?
First, let me add one piece of information that Amer has mentioned. And the website of the Council of Saudi Chamber, CSC, we announce all the tenders that are coming by the government, and officially it comes to the Council of the Chambers, and the Council of Chambers announce it, and we translate it as well into English, so it can be shown in Arabic and English. So that is another venue for those who are looking for opportunities in Saudi Arabia. SAGIA, or Saudi Arabia General Investment Authority, is the government body which licenses foreign investment and the gateway to Saudi Arabia for foreign investment. It's a very genuine organization led by a very brilliant leader, the Governor, Engineer Abdul Latif Al Othman. He's a very active and pragmatic person, logical, and he can really be a big help. SAGIA was established in April 2000, and when it was established, the idea is to attract foreign investment to Saudi Arabia. When we did the promotion of SAGIA, our main role is to attract technology and know-how to the country, and we still is. So regardless of the size, SAGIA was not set to just to attract big companies and large investment. Any know-how or technology that is new to the world and to the country is highly welcome in Saudi Arabia. In SAGIA, they have the what's called a one-stop shop, so you can apply. First, you can apply online. You can apply for your visa, and you can apply to come and apply for a license. Of course, there are many requirements, and you can visit the website of SAGIA, which is www.sagia.gov.sa, where all details are there, and you can visit their website and understand what are the requirements. The second thing, which is very important for SAGIA, SAGIA is a young organization comparatively, so you need to understand how to deal with this organization. it's everything is done online, so you have to keep up with the website every now and then. And SAGA represent many other governmental organizations, so you have to keep up with the changes in the country, and the country is on, as I said earlier, on the fast track when it comes to reform. So SAGA is the tool, also is the gateway.
Thank you, Omar. I hate to do this, Ambassador Fraker, but I want to work through some of the questions that I think are applicable to doing business in the region. But I know this will make you cringe. One of the questions is, do you feel that if visa requirements were relaxed, it would make it easier for people to travel? Now, I know you, in many ways, there's been progress on that front. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we spent a lot of time and effort when I was ambassador trying to change the visa protocols to 5-year multiple entry visas, which took a lot of pushing on both bureaucracies, and actually involved both the king and the president agreeing that this would be in the best interest of both countries and pushing that forward. And I know this was something that Ambassador Smith spent a lot of time and effort streamlining and making a lot more efficient. It also coincided with the expansion of the King Abdullah Scholarship Program, and the intent was to get many, many more Saudis out of Saudi Arabia into the U.S. studying, but on the other side as well, to make it easier for U.S. businessmen to access the kingdom. So 5-year multiple entry visas are an important tool. And I think that has opened the gateways a lot wider than was the case before. The other thing that's happened is we worked on revising the U.S. State Department travel advisory warning, because the language that's used in those advisories can actually have a direct impact on personal insurance policies for executives traveling to the Middle East. And we didn't want that to be an impediment as well, so we worked hard to try and change that language. All of which was a huge effort in trying to ensure that the two-way flow of people would improve the business environment and the level of activity. And I think we've seen that over the years. Certainly Omar's been directly involved in that effort during his time in Riyadh, and we've seen the results. What we want to make sure is that those, if you will, bureaucratic issues don't become impediments to developing business between the two countries. And the other part of that is that at the end of the day, all business is personal. It's not done over the web. It's not done through websites, etc. It really is people to people. So you have to make it as easy as possible for businessmen on both sides to be able to sit down face to face and do their business.
Thank you, Ambassador Fraker. From my personal experience as someone who's been involved in the region in Saudi Arabia for close to 30 years and so on both sides of 9/11, so to speak, of late, the ability to get a 5-year visa is not a difficult task. It's much more it's greatly simplified and much more available to more people. If I can share another question, which I think speaks really to hopefully the direction of trade growth with regard to the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. The question specifically is, what would be your view regarding the best examples of U.S. and Saudi collaborations for knowledge economy development, and what are opportunities not yet realized? So this speaks to not only the U.S. The Saudi national strategy of moving towards more of a knowledge economy, an emphasis on sectors like healthcare and logistics and information communications technology. But also, obviously, these are tremendous strengths and experience. One of the interesting things when we were in Los Angeles for the September 2013 U.S.-Saudi Business Opportunities Forum was the extraordinary amount of institutional expertise in the state of California but also in the U.S. on sectors, healthcare, transportation, ICT, where Saudi Arabia is headed. The match is very strong. Can you speak to that question? You know, what are some of the really good examples of collaborations in the knowledge economy, and what are some opportunities that aren't yet accessed?
So let me make some general comments. I'm sure Omar has some very specific examples of where U.S. companies and Saudi companies have collaborated. But this goes back to my earlier comment about this younger generation. We have a youth bulge throughout the Middle East demographically. Saudi Arabia has the same thing. This is the group that is highly switched on, technologically speaking, whether it's social media or however you want to address it. They, this is their future. So watching how that develops in Saudi Arabia, where there's a keen interest in this at that age level, I think will be a huge indicator of how successful the kingdom is moving forward in developing its economy. Omar, again, I'm sure you have some specific examples of where some of the big U.S. technology companies have been trying to make inroads into Saudi.
Absolutely, Ambassador Fraker. As you would recall, while you were the ambassador, you had signed the U.S.-Saudi Science and Technology Agreement in 2008, and under that, CAX, King Abdulaziz City of Science and Technology, is currently working with NASA on several projects, including robotic network and geodynamics research. Also, CAX has numerous collaborative arrangements with U.S. universities as well as some of the U.S. government institutions, such as U.S. Geological Survey, Department of Energy. We are working very closely with KCARE and KAUST there. So those are at the government level that we have R&D and science and technology collaboration that's going on. In addition, we work very closely with Saudi Arabia on the environmental sides, on the standard setting sides, like CAFE standards for the automotive fuel efficiencies. But more importantly, as the Ambassador Fraker just the companies that have been coming here. Apple, we work very hard to get Apple here. They were given a license by SAGIA just last month to operate here. We had a launch of Uber, the taxi service, just a couple of weeks ago in the kingdom. Cisco, Intel, IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, you name it. Those are the big names, but also smaller companies that have been working intensely with Ministry of Interior, as well as several universities in Saudi Arabia to do specific programs as well as training. Then we have 83,000 students, Saudi students who are studying in the United States, and our companies are recruiting them for internship opportunities during the summer months as well as after graduation. So we are doing all we can to contribute towards the economic diversification strategy, which is the knowledge economy strategy of King Abdullah.
Thank you, Amer. Just to elaborate on the King Abdullah Scholarship Program, I think all of us agree with Ambassador Fraker. This is an extraordinary initiative. Over 100,000 Saudis in the U.S. Studying, and my bit of advice is funny. One of the things that has been referenced a couple of times is really the personal relationships. Frankly, if I were a small business person in the U.S. And I were anywhere in a knowledge economy field, or even anything related to manufacturing or other sectors, I'd hire a young Saudi. And this goes two ways. Not only do these Saudis that are graduating, and we just had 12,500 Saudi students graduate from the program, which is the largest. Every year, of course, it gets larger. But these Saudi students are coming out, and they're looking for opportunities for training. They're looking for, obviously, employment. But they are windows, access, footholds into the Saudi economy, Saudi society. And honestly, I would find someone in my field and find a way to get them into my shop and utilize their skills, their personal contacts to jumpstart entry into the Saudi market. That's just a thought.
And just if I can cut in there, the best way to access that pool of talent is through the Saudi embassy in Washington, where they have a specific department to deal with the students and are interested in placing them in internship opportunities over the summers. You know, so for any company that wants to follow up on what you're suggesting, Richard, that's the best way to do that.
And specifically, that would be a Saudi Arabian cultural mission.
Exactly.
Exactly, gentlemen. If I may ask a question, you know, one of the priorities in Saudi Arabia is job creation. Now, in OECD countries, close to 70+ % of jobs created are created by small and medium-sized enterprises. In Saudi Arabia, it's more along the lines of 33%. What is in Omar, I think you can speak to this in particular, what is Saudi Arabia doing to help build the SME presence in the kingdom and to facilitate their growth, because it's so critical to job creation as well as diversification of the economy?
First, the Saudi economy is based on SMEs, especially when it comes to the private sector. 88% of the private sector consists of SMEs. If we go to the 50s and 60s, an SME was just an entrepreneur, and this person will just try his luck in the market and buy and sell and get whatever he gets in the market. Then by the time under the development, etc., the government got engaged, so they introduced funds, and we've introduced many funds: the Saudi Industrial Fund, the Saudi Agriculture Fund, the Saudi Credit Bank or Credit Fund, the Saudi Real Estate Fund, etc. And these funds, as a matter of fact, help big time Saudi entrepreneurs to build up their business from small to medium to large. And most of the large business in Saudi Arabia now started small 4 or 5 decades back, and got their funds from the government funds and elaborate in their business and enlarge their business up to the scale that they are in today. In the last 5 to 10 years, more programs came up to help SMEs. The first program that came up was with the Credit Bank, where the capital of the Credit Bank was only 200 million, and it has been increased to 40 billion riyals. And that's a big move for one fund. Many other smaller funds came up, like the Centennial Fund, like Abdul Latif Jameel Fund, and Jeddah Chamber, Riyadh Chamber have introduced a few funds as well. And the idea is to help SMEs, and mostly small and micro small business. On the other hand, many other programs have been introduced by institutions, like Ministry of Commerce have created a department for SMEs to look after the problem and impediments that are facing the SMEs and try to remove these impediments. Likewise, in the chambers have introduced lots of programs between Riyadh, Jeddah, and Eastern Province, and even the medium and small chambers as well. On the other hand, many other programs came up between like King Abdulaziz Science and Technology, like incubators, and this will help. That is to help the newly started business or entrepreneur to help themselves in developing business. Many other programs are coming. One important program that we want and we wish to be introduced to the market is the venture capital. Unfortunately, yet the venture capital is not in the market, and that will help SMEs big time if it comes in to the market.
Thanks. If I could comment on that a little bit. The Saudi government understands very, very clearly that SMEs are the future of the economy. And as Omar said, a whole range of institutions have been either put in place or capitalized at a higher level to be able to promote this business. And back in '07, I was involved in a series of intense conversations with the Minister of Finance about specifically what Saudi Arabia could do to focus on this area, because it also speaks to the demographic youth bulge. Many of the young Saudis actually want to start their own businesses, and they should be encouraged to do that. The government is looking for many different ways that they can encourage that activity, and I think you'll see that begin to get greater traction as you move forward.
Thanks, Ambassador, for that. Let me just ask a couple of questions here as we get into our final 10 or 15 minutes of our session today, and remind our audience that this is FocusKSA, a joint effort of the Susrus.com and the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group, sustg.org. You can find references at susrus.com/FocusKSA. There's a list of informative articles and interviews, some of them with some of our distinguished guests today, as well as links to the U.S.-Saudi Business Opportunities Forum videos and transcripts that will round out your education this morning on Saudi-U.S. trade. We've got a few minutes left. Let me pose a couple of questions for each of our panelists, and then we'll in turn go with Omar first. Omar, can you expand on the sector or sectors that you think are the hottest right now for American business people to get involved in the kingdom? And then I'll ask Ambassador Fraker, can you talk about the business environment for Americans interested in KSA? Sometimes people may be distracted by news reports of security issues or regional political developments. As somebody well steeped in decades of business in the Gulf, can you give some guidance on that? And Amer, let me follow up with a question to you after the others. We've heard this morning about the competition from China and others for the opportunities in KSA. Conventional wisdom, though, is that Americans have an edge through the historical business-to-business ties and infrastructures built to U.S. standards. Can you comment on any advantages Americans should know and exploit? So Omar, over to you about what's hot in KSA right now.
Well, if I am a business person, I would look at services in Saudi Arabia. And as Ambassador Ford said, that services is a big field in the country. And as a matter of fact, any company that has know-how or technology that they think that they can add value to the Saudi market, that is a very fertile field for them. Saudi Arabia is a huge market. Funding is not a problem. The market is sizable. The population is sizable as well. A young population. So whatever technology you want to introduce, it will be accepted by the market itself. So I would say any service or technology that can add value to the market is open to the market. So don't undermine any product or any technology. Just try the market. The market is so simple, easy, and big as well.
Thank you for that, Ambassador. Politics and business. What's your view?
So as I was saying, let me leave the politics to one side and talk about business. The business environment is positive, absolutely. As Omar and Amer have both said, you have a strong desire on the part of the Saudi government to attract good quality U.S. companies into the region. Technology is top of the list, but you also have, healthcare is a big opportunity. There are opportunities on the manufacturing side. You have the financing, the funding in place, and you have organizations that are there to help with the process. For any U.S. business looking to do business in Saudi Arabia, the first stop is the U.S. Department of Commerce / the U.S. Embassy, and then you get on to SAGIA pretty quickly, and you'll find lots of people who will want to help in the process. So I don't worry about the environment. You know, media descriptions of the region have to be taken with a grain of salt. And I go back to the point I made earlier, which is the best way to really understand what the opportunities are is to get on an airplane and come out and commit the time and effort. And everyone will be the better for doing that.
Thank you for that, Ambassador. And we'll turn to Amer Kayani for a comment on the environment and any advantages Americans might have ready-made for them to step into.
Well, let me refer to what Ambassador Fraker said, quality, and that's really the key. You know, you get what you pay for, and if we are going to try to compete with some of the competition coming from countries like China and others and just focus on price alone, we're not going to win business there. So the most important thing is the value proposition. What is it that we are offering as overall value to our Saudi friends here? And that value proposition is is quality we are offering. We are offering long-standing commitment to be in the country. And most important, we have a very strong record of going back 80 years of working with. All other things equal, yes, Saudi businesses would prefer to do business with us rather than anyone else. And that really I can tell from my own experience. We take about 800 Saudi buyers every year to the United States on dozen or so trade shows there. Having said that, Saudi Arabia over the last 10 years or so has become very price sensitive. But that does not mean that they are not paying attention to quality. So really, you have to package yourself to differentiate from the competition, and that's the value proposition. So how do you build a value proposition? Well, quality we have, commitment we have. Well, let's throw in a couple of other things to it. Let's try to help Saudi Arabia employ local Saudi talent there. That's going to, in terms of bringing in, instead of bringing expats here, let's cultivate local talent. It's going to be less expensive, and it also helps the country. And usually, government agencies especially, they would look upon your bids favorably. The other thing is finding a strong local partner, and as Ambassador Fraker said earlier, that goes back to having a good, close personal relationship. That also helps you reduce some of the costs that you have. And if you cannot find an appropriate local partner because for some reason, one reason or the other, that local talent or specific technology that you're looking for is not available, you can always go and then bring in other partners, third country partners from countries like in the region, and help make your bid more competitive. So it's really try to offer a value proposition rather than trying to focus on price alone.
Thank you for that, Amer. We've chewed through our session here too quickly. A lot of great information. I'll ask our panelists for any closing comments. If you have anything you'd like to add at the end here, Omar, up for you.
Yeah, I would second Amer's point that American quality is highly regarded in Saudi Arabia, and this is very important. Second, we've been engaged with American products for the last 8 decades. So switching to one product or another will not stop us from going back to the American products. Second, which is very important, the quality and the price of the American products is really balanced compared to European, for an example. Good quality, but very, very high price. So if you compare the American products to the European products, by all means, you win with American product. Third, which is very important, the product that are coming from the East, especially from China, is now deteriorating because the government now has paid attention to the quality, and they are now trying to increase the standard of the products in the Saudi market. So again, this is another golden opportunity for American products to come back again to the Saudi market and to settle in the market. Another important point is domesticating the industry or technology, and that is by implementing the factory or the services in town and train Saudis and make them a partner instead of just a customer. That's it.
Great. Amer, do you have any closing thoughts on trade and investment?
Well, I will echo what Omar said, that it's really, as long as you are coming here and you show commitment to the market and you're willing to work with them and not view them just a one-off kind of opportunity and look at the market in, from a long-term perspective rather than just quarterly perspective, I think you will be successful. But again, personal relationship is the key to succeed in this market.
Yeah, that seems to ring out in everybody's recommendations. Ambassador Fraker, over to you for any closing thoughts.
I think it's important to understand that there's a deep wellspring of pro-Americanism on the business side. Saudi Arabia really does want to do business with America and American companies, and the best way to take advantage of that is to just get on airplanes and come out and visit the country and see for yourself as an American business what the opportunities are. That's a huge advantage that we have, and it's one that we should capitalize on.
Terrific. Well, let me again thank our audience for participating today, and let me especially thank our distinguished guests for joining us today in this FocusKSA webinar. We are pleased to have been talking with Ford Fraker, President of the Middle East Policy Council in Washington and former ambassador to Saudi Arabia during the period 2007 to 2009. Minister Counselor Amer Kayani, the Chief of the U.S. Commercial Service in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain, speaking with us from the embassy in Riyadh, and also from Riyadh, Secretary General of the Committee for International Trade, Engineer Omar Bahlaiwa. Thank you so much for your time. A reminder to our audience, we will have a survey that you'll get in your email tomorrow. Please take just a minute to tell us how we can improve this service, the FocusKSA webinars, and what other features that we might be able to put into the susras.com and the Saudi U.S. Trade Group.org efforts to keep you up to date on what's happening in U.S.-Saudi relations, and we will have a transcript of this event as well as the video and the archive, so you can refer your colleagues to take a look, and we hope that you'll be in the next FocusKSA webinar. Richard, over to you.
Thank you, Pat. Thanks so much for sort of being the organizational backbone to this this initiative. Gentlemen, thank you. Just a quick thought. To return to the beginning, Amer, I thought it was very interesting you characterized Saudi Arabia as a growth story. I think that's spot on, and implicit in that is that it's a transformational story, and that in its growth and its ongoing change provides tremendous opportunities for U.S. businesses. And along those lines, it's fascinating. Our previous FocusKSA webinar was on labor and all the issues that involves. But you know, those are business opportunities with regard to labor and creating job opportunities. The next one, and this is a plug and both a notice, the next one will be on education. You know, Saudi Arabia making the grade education. And it will be on July 10th, and will include Ambassador James Smith, and as well as Dr. Haifa Jamalaleah, who's the president of Ifat University, as well as other participants. Again, a transformational topic in Saudi Arabia, and a tremendous opportunity for U.S. businesses. So, you know, be alert. Go get to know somebody, as Ambassador Fraker and all three panelists have really encouraged, because the opportunities are there, and the opportunities are there in sectors where U.S. business and U.S. expertise is extremely strong. With that, thanks so much.